Welcome to the Center of Light Radio with spiritual teacher, intuitive, musician, composer, and best-selling author of The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, your host, Keith Anthony Blanchard.
Center of Light Radio, Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all ye spiritual astronauts as we launch for inner space. I'm excited. Very excited. I can't sit still. In a few weeks from now, we're going to have God Realized Man Swamiji Viswayogi here on Center of Light Radio. I can't begin to express to you what it's like to be in the presence of such a divine man, someone with this kind of spiritual endowment, someone who knows your thoughts, everything you've ever done, what you are doing, and what is your potential. Amazing, amazing, the humility that happens inside of a person when standing in such divinity. The doorway via humility opens up, and you begin to touch your own essence. It's just truly amazing. Swamiji Viswayogi is going to be here August 17th, and my producer Joe, who is phenomenal, takes care of me very well. We're setting up this to be a video stream, which is going to happen in the video lounge. Make sure you tune in for that fantastic, amazing interview it's going to be. I am still taking questions. Any questions you may have that is about the betterment of the world. Let's keep this about humanity's sake and not our own personal questions, because my email box is getting flooded with emails. So find that question that you have inside of your heart that is of your concern to better the world that we live in. And I will do what I can to make sure that question gets put to Swami so he can tell us what we need to do to make this world blissful and fulfill the prophecy of heaven on earth. Also, Nucleus 8, still hadn't heard from him, my alien human hybrid friend, 4,740 years old. I get the feeling he's going to make an appearance real soon, and we get to talk to him about that, see if he's going to make an appearance here on Center of Light Radio. Make sure you go to centeroflightradio.com or KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com. They're all interlinked. And also, Do What You Love the Movie.com. All of my fantastic, joyful, blissful work that I'm about. You can see all my creations there, the books, the movie, and everything else that I'm into. But also, for those who are regulars here at Center of Light Radio, the music that you hear as the show is about to kick off, that is actually my spiritual band called Lavender Soul. Members of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra are actually part of the project. What a fantastic amalgamation of world-class musicians that I am so blessed to play with, literally, be having an experience with. Let's see, we've got notes, always notes. Here we go. Let's see. I want to say thank you and hello to all my listeners in the chat room who are here repeatedly supporting myself and Center of Light Radio. To call into the show, dial 888-919-2355, 888-919-2355. I know there might be some of you out there who can use a little bit of relationship love. So tonight we're going to be taking care of that with my two phenomenal guests. Remember, if you're not at home or by your computer and you want to hear your fave show, Center of Light, or any of the shows that you can find here on the fantastic Inception Radio Network platform, go to your app store on your phone and download the Inception Radio Network app for free. Everything is easy, accessible, right there at your fingertips. Oh my gosh, there's chat room, listen, live links, news, podcasts, much more. There are many ways to connect to Center of Light Radio and Inception Radio Network for sure. Now it's time to get down to Center of Light Radio business. Are you in a relationship that can use some love? Well, you came to the right place. Tonight, my guest is Janie, I hope I pronounced this right, Terrazas and Luis Santiago. And we will be discussing how to create a hot, happy, harmonious relationship that thrives. I love that word, thrive. The S.A.F.E, the Safe Communication Method, is a 4-step cognitive communication process designed to help couples create an honest, all in caps, harmonious, all in caps, and passionate, all in caps, connection so that they can coexist in peace and grow deeper in love. Ooh, very, very cool. The key to keeping a hot, happy, healthy relationship is the willingness. That is the magic word right there. That is the $64,000 word, in my opinion, is the willingness to understand your partner on a deeper emotional and spiritual level. Then, and only then, can you truly create a divine love that passionately thrives for the long haul. Ultimately, this process is to help you and your partner establish a divine, passionate, loving bond that is built upon honesty, understanding, communication, trust, and respect. The following are the SAFE, S-A-F-E, will cover. Let me tell you a little bit more about my guests, the life coaches, the love coaches, relationship and life coach, Luis Santiago, has been studying the dynamics of men and women for the last 20 years. In 2008, he began coaching professionally, and his methods have helped transcend the love lives of many. He was featured on NBC's show, The Match Off, and was voted Best of the West Matchmaker. His wife and business partner, Janie Terrazas, is a life coach as well as a Reiki practitioner and spiritual advisor. She brings a female perspective and an intuitive insight to the table. Together, they offer a unique 360-degree viewpoint, giving their clients a balanced solution when it comes to dating and relationships. As owners of the Love Coaches, their mission is to help expand the minds and hearts of others who are seeking to experience richer, more meaningful relationships. They have committed themselves to creating a hot, happy, harmonious marriage that thrives and share their insights with others. Their safe communication method encourages and empowers couples to stay passionately connected. You can find more about my guest tonight at www.thelovecoaches.com. Welcome to the Center of Light, Luis and Janie.
Thank you so much, Keith, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. We're super excited to be here.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
We're really pumped up about this. We've been looking forward to the last for the last few weeks already.
Yep.
I like your enthusiasm. I like that you guys are ready to jump in without life jackets, and we're going to dive deep.
That's a great analogy. That's what we use with our clients sometimes. We're just going to throw you right into the deep end occasionally.
Yeah, sometimes we have to.
Something I read in your intro here that I have always said, in a relationship, if you don't have trust, if you don't have honesty, and you don't have communication, you have absolutely nothing. And one embodies all.
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please, by all means.
I was going to say, we really believe that, initially when people, are attracted to each other, they develop a friendship usually, or at least that's the key. You want to have a really strong friendship. And then, of course, you want the passion and all the extra yummy stuff that comes along with it. But then people get really comfortable in their relationships and they no longer attend to the friendship, which I like to use the analogy, a plant and a fire, right? So the plant is the friendship. And if you don't water it, it will wilt and die. And a campfire, if you want to keep it hot, you need to make sure that you tend to it every once in a while, add some wood to it. Otherwise, it's just going to, fizzle out.
So I take it that you guys are not hypocrites, and this is what's happening in your relationship as to why you both are so qualified. Let me ask you, what is it like to be you in such a harmonious, passionate, hot, rocking relationship?
Well, that's the thing about Jane and I. We're very transparent when we work with our clients, and we also have our own disharmony. Our relationship is not perfect and flowers and rainbows all the time. And so we, you used a great word as earlier, was we both have the willingness to really make this a hot, harmonious, passionate relationship. We try to be very conscious all the time of our actions, our attitudes, our behaviors, and really try to catch ourselves when we find that maybe we're not being, we're not in our higher selves.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it is. Luis and I have been together for 9 years, married for 4. And even when we got married, that's really where it started. The work started there. And I continue to learn things about him because we are multifaceted beings, and there are lots of reasons why we do what we do and want what we want and think what we think. And I have just been a very curious. I've just been a very excited and curious about learning more and more and digging deeper. I'm kind of like that by nature. I'm kind of kid-like. And that has somewhat been a struggle for our relationship also, because it's like, I'm the one that wants to talk about everything and break it all down and analyze it. And Luis processes his emotions and feelings very differently. And men struggle with that in a lot of ways. Sometimes it comes easier for women. For some women, they may not. Also, it just depends on how they grew up and some of the experiences they've had. Sometimes they start to shut down as well. So it's not easy for everybody to be real honest and express themselves and then learn how to communicate that effectively, because men and women, our minds, our brains, our bodies work so differently. And then on top of that, you have to consider the person's personality, which has a lot to do with their subconscious mind, which I know you talk a lot about,
Janie, I'm going to put a question to you. If it's too personal, please feel free to just walk right over. Is there a reason for your name being Terrazas and not Santiago? And the reason I asked that, because when you both found me via my email and asked to be on the Center of Light Radio, I thought, I assumed correctly that you were married, and then later I saw the names being different. Is it because that you still hold on to a part of your own identity as an individual in this wholeness of a relationship?
Yes. So, okay. Well, first of all, I did
good.
I really appreciate your effort in trying to pronounce my name. It's not always easy. It's Terrazas, and if you know how to roll the tongue, it's Terrazas. Terrazas. I didn't really have an issue with changing my name when we were thinking about getting married. But then when we did, it just also too, I have a background in the entertainment industry. And so I was working as a host and producer and a fitness model. And so I had just really established that name already. And then when we got married, I just never went through all the steps, because it's such a pain in the butt for girls, because you have to change your passport and your driver's license, your social security, and all this stuff. And Luis is a very confident man. He's confident in our relationship. Sometimes we go to hotels and they refer to me by Mrs. Santiago, and I do not take offense to that at all. I don't feel the need to correct people. But yeah, I just decided to keep my own name, and we both have, like you said, it's about maintaining your individuality and then also learning how to come together as a team.
Yeah, and if I can jump in real quick, I was totally okay with it because I knew she had already established a name for herself before us getting married. And at the same time, I told her, I was like, look, to be honest, I wouldn't want to go through the process of changing, my driver's license, my credit cards, all this stuff. So not to be hypocritical, I'm not going to impose that on you. And I'm totally okay with it. I completely understand. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, you need to take my last name now.
That would throw you out of the harmonious relationship that you're trying to establish.
Yeah. And also I'm so proud of my family, and I really love my family a lot. And, I always want to make them proud. And so with all these things that we've got books coming out and all this stuff, I was like, I really want to do the Terrazas name right. And so I decided to keep it for that reason too.
I heard you say a little earlier, Janie, about watering the plant or fire, I think I heard you say. And I use the same idea but differently. I say you can either water the weed or you can water the plant. Mm-hmm. Either way, it will grow. How did you guys come together and put this together? What is the fire that you had lit under your butt to say, hey, let's get along better than most people we ever met? And I mean, how did this all come about? Was there this kind of fire when you met and y'all just found ways to keep fanning the flames and you came up with this program that you put into practice and saw such results? I mean, how did this all happen for you two?
Well, Janie and I have definitely had an interesting relationship. When her and I first met, we were both coming out of relationships. And so, because we were going through that in our lives, we didn't want to jump into another relationship, which actually set an interesting course because we were both really open and honest in the beginning because we weren't trying to hide behind the facade of trying to say the right thing or be the right person. We were just kind of very open and direct, which was kind of a breath of fresh air for me because it was so great just to be comfortable being completely open with someone. And I will have to give Janie credit for that because she has that ability to just make you feel really comfortable. And so when we first started, we had a completely, platonic friendship from the beginning. And I think that's what set the course for our relationship. So to fast forward now to where we are, it really is a culmination of all our years together of understanding there was really something special between her and I. Out of all the girls I dated, I knew there was something here. And so we've taken all that and like I said, within our own ups and downs within our relationship, because like I said, it's not perfect and we never try to say that it's perfect at all. We definitely have to work very hard at it and be very conscious. And so when we fast forward now to where we're at, we were like, okay, what is it that we do that gets us to this place and we're able to communicate and really get into the heart of what's going on? And that's how we came up with the safe communication method.
Yeah, we, like you said, we started off as friends. We were actually friends for about 6 months before we got into like an actual relationship. But I will say was friends with benefits at one point. And I told him, hey, dude, I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to need to like stop spending so much time with you. Because I'm starting to get emotionally involved here. And I know you and I don't really want the same things in life. Because at that point, I knew that at some point I wanted to get married. Kids was kind of on my mind. And so, it was actually. And so I was taking a big risk. The longest relationship he had been in was a year. And most of mine, I had already been in some long-term relationships and stuff. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go through a lot of like learning curves with this one. But interestingly enough, even though he didn't have what most people would say, like, you have a list of things that you want a person to kind of have. There was this pull, like a really interesting pull, like on my heart when I say that, or like my soul. Something told me that there was going to be something really interesting in this relationship. I didn't know what it was going to be. But we both grown a lot as people and learned a lot about ourselves through it. And at year 4, we hit a wall. We broke up. His fears got the best of him about long-term commitment and that one love for the rest of your life. And on a side note, we both came from really different upbringings too. So his parents were divorced, pretty tumultuous relationship. So, he had some things there and I knew that. But at some point you kind of have to realize I tried to love him a lot, just give him all my love and give, thinking that was going to pull him out of this fog. And it didn't. And women have to realize, and men too, when a relationship has sort of run its course. And I knew that there wasn't much else I could do. So we broke up. And a year from the time we broke up, actually, we ended up getting married in Aruba. It was a few months of being apart. And Luis and I did some crazy soul searching. Here I thought he was like living it up, checking out these chicks, banging everything in sight. And little did I know he was like, going through what he was going through. So when we reunited, so to speak, it wasn't very long after that we realized, okay, we're going to do this. And if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. And through it, like you said, we now share all of our ups and downs, everything that we go through, all the walls that we hit. And we have developed tools to help us get around those things. And so we use them as a guide for others. And it's worked. And you know what? You'll love this. The SAFE acronym, our copy editor, because we're writing a book about this for couples, and we also have an illumination book coming out later too for individuals. And she said, if you can come up with a SAFE acronym, she was like, you're on it. Because right now, with everything that's going on in the world, people want to feel safe. And to feel safe is to feel accepted and to feel loved. And we were brainstorming and I just couldn't get it. And then meditation, I was like really praying on it. And then just one day out of the blue, I was like washing dishes, walking back to the room, and bam, it literally just came to me like a lightning bolt. And I started jumping up and down. And I told Luis, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And not only that, but it's in order. Like, you can't get past seek the truth. you got to get past that before you can get to accept accountability and responsibility and free your mind and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll get into that. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions about that. But yeah, it was total divinity. I cannot take credit for it.
888-919-2355, 888-919-2355, or my fantastic guest today, Janie and Lewis. Make sure you call in if you're having some trouble, or if you want to just take the fire you have and use some bellows and pump that puppy up and get it just really, really nice and hot. Make sure you call in. Question for what kind of benefits, you were friends with benefits, did you offer each other, like an insurance policy or 401k? From the chat room, Native Earth Lady wants to ask a question of both of you. And her question is, Lewis and Janie, do you find that when people get married, that piece of paper changes them towards each other and can cause a divorce?
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you just repeat the last part of the question again?
I'm gonna read it again because I wasn't clear. Lewis and Janie, do you find when people get married, that piece of paper changed them towards each other and can cause a divorce?
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm sure we both have a little something to say about this. Go ahead.
Well, I think sometimes what happens when people get married is, Janie said it, she just said it great earlier when she was like, that's when the work really started, was when we got married. And sometimes it happens with most couples. It's like, oh, now we're married and now we no longer need to really put an effort into this relationship because we're married. And so I think that is truly when two people need to come together and really start to get to know each other, find out what you need. I mean, obviously, these are things you want to figure out before, but at the same time, that's when you get married, that's when you're like, this is the commitment really begins. And we really need to be bigger than ourselves in this relationship so that it can really grow and prosper into something.
Thank you very
really
much.
beautiful.
So it's not about you, it's about the relationship, which is the wholeness, which is actually the broader sense of you, which is really what you want in the first place, or otherwise you wouldn't be together.
Exactly.
If you can figure out, like, all of us as individuals have strengths and weaknesses. All of us have certain habits and behaviors that actually create havoc in our relationships. And we fall back on this easy, well, that's just how I am. And the truth is, there are things about ourselves that can be changed, especially if it's going to be for your higher good. And so if you're not willing to look at what are these things, like, I had to realize I'm impulsive, right? That's one of my kind of things. And it could be beneficial in many ways because, I don't have to think a lot before I do something. I'm just willing to do it. But at the same time, sometimes in communicating, I'll just kind of say what's on my mind. And a lot of times we need to stop and think before we speak. And so I needed to see how that was creating havoc in my relationship with Luis. And so if you go into your marriage and like, I had to say, I'm going to give my sister kudos. She got married not too long ago, and her husband came to see Luis and I a week after, actually the weekend of their wedding. 3 days after they got married, they came and said, we want to have a session with you guys, because they're being preemptive. You know what I mean? They're being proactive, and they already knew what are the things that we're really different when it comes to this, that, and the other, and how it causes us to feel some kind of angst or dis-ease inside of our head or heart or body. And so if you're able to pinpoint what your patterns are, what are these dumb little, I won't call it dumb. What are the things that keep coming up in your relationship you keep fighting about? Because there's all these like symptoms. Luis uses this really cool analogy. There's a pebble. When you drop it in the pond, it creates a bunch of ripples. But a lot of times people don't realize that all the things that they're fighting about are really just symptoms of something greater. And sometimes you need some help peeling back the layers so that you could see what is at the root of the problem. What are you really feeling? Why is this really agitating you?
A friend of mine once told me, he said, you want to see how spiritually endowed you are? Look at your partner.
Yeah, they're a mirror. Totally.
It's true. And it's funny you say that, because Janie and I do see our relationship as a spiritual partnership. And we are really trying to learn from each other and learn about ourselves from each other. And that's really our goal. And sometimes, we do fall off the path because we are human and we are here and we get, caught up in the illusion. But at the same time, we really do our best to pull each other back up and very lovingly point out when we're maybe not in our higher selves.
Right. I call it being an anchor, because it's as we're going about our day, I call it, it's like a dance, right? You're kind of like in the light, but then you kind of like go into the dark and go into the light. And so I do my best. There's a lot of practices that we do to try to maintain that mentality and that space in terms of mind and heart. And I tell them, look, when I turn into my little, like that little self of me, that little ego self or the shadow self, I'm cool with you pointing it out. I'm getting better at catching it myself. But if I start to fall in there, excuse me, if I start to fall in there, you know, like, hey, like you're stepping out your light, and it's like, oh yeah, thank you, man. You know, skin it. Like, thank you for helping me out. That's from the movie Stand By Me.
Someone asked from the chat room, can date night heal a relationship that is on the rocks?
Ooh, well, that's a tough one, because it depends how much on the rocks you are. And this is maybe somewhere where the safe communication method could really help, because, you know, that if you're having just, you know, like a quality time problem where you're not spending enough time with each other, yes, date night could help that, because that's where you're both needing. But if you have some deeper issues that are causing conflict in the relationship, I don't think, you know, hanging out once a week on a date night might solve that. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what the issue is.
Yeah, so date night becomes the excuse or the reason for coming together. And if you're just going on the date for the sake of going on the date and things are not resolved, it really doesn't matter. Let me ask you this very, 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 I think it's as important as any of the questions I would pose to you both tonight, and equally, because we're talking about building, creating, expanding, spiritually growing in relationship. But equally, I think as important is, when is it time to call the relationship quits?
Oof, that is a loaded question.
That's kind of like the other side of the wholeness coin on this particular show.
Well, one of the things is, and again, this is flexible to some degree, but there's a golden ratio rule that we call like the 80-20. If you guys are 80% of the time, you know, getting along, and 20% of the time you're kind of getting on each other's nerves, you know, 80 or more is good. 20 or less is even better, right? So if you know, you're in a pretty good place. If there is like this chronic unhappiness that is going on, and if one person is the only one that's willing to say, hey, I'm tired of the kind of relationship that we have. I don't want to leave you, but I know that if we keep doing what we're doing, things are not going to get better. And so if one starts to seek out help, or one wants to start to see what's at the root of the problems, and the other one doesn't, I mean, that's really when you need to sit back and start asking yourself questions about, why am I trying to force something that is no longer serving me, that is breaking me down, that is breaking my spirit. This person does not lift me. And if you're wanting to grow and expand, and you're with somebody who's a big cement block, then you got to ask yourself, you know, is this really worth it? And then if you stay in it, then you need to stop complaining. Stop calling all your friends or your family and everybody at work or whatever and telling them about your problems in your relationship, because you got to see the truth of what's really happening.
You posed a question a minute ago, though it was rhetorical, which is, you know, coming to the point of realizing that it's time. And the reason, from my experience of working with people as a coach, scared to death, scared of change, you know, and then, you know, in my past, many, many years ago, when I was coming out of a 10-year relationship, you know, who are they with? Are they better than me? Are they better sexually than me? Saying that name a little louder. Is he driving a better car than me? Is they making more money than me? And we hesitate to move into change and out of the box by the fear that seems to have a death grip on us, not realizing that moving through that threshold is bliss.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, that's what we share also with our clients is the reason you're afraid right now is because you don't know what's on the other side. But usually what's on the other side is going to be beneficial for you. Even if you are in that situation, as we're talking about, where it's time to move on, it's funny. We've had several clients or actual couples that we've helped transition from being together through the breakup because we feel the same way. Sometimes it's just not going to work if two people are just on completely different planes. And so we help them through the breakup process. And this is really interesting.
That's beautiful. That is really, really beautiful and very powerful that you don't only try to keep people together.
No.
You help them meander, you guide them to the place where they can both feel uplifted, both enlightened, both being supported as they separate. That's really, really cool. Please continue.
Yes. And so this is the real interesting part, Keith, is something magical always happens because it is very difficult. Someone like yourself, let's say you were together for 10 years. There is a lot of history, a home together, all these difficult things that you're going to have to now divide. And what's really interesting and magical is things line up for our clients when that happens. Like, let's say they need to find a place and a place will just come up that's perfect for them. We had one client that was going to move to another city and he happened to get a job there. And all these things happen when it's like you do what's better for yourself in the long run. And so for someone that's maybe in a relationship and maybe they're thinking this might not be working for them and they are scared to walk through that door because of all that might come with that. It's so interesting that things happen to line up for you to show you, the universe shows you that, yes, you are doing the right thing.
Yes.
It's just amazing to watch.
I see that all the time. We are rewarded when we increase our self-love. This whole entire life is about self-love. And if you can learn what that looks like for you and get to that place, it's much easier to be in relationships. If you're not there and you're already in a relationship, you can still grow into that. And you'll see huge benefits. So whether you're single or already in a relationship and you're wanting to improve your self-love, know that it's going to benefit your relationships, all of your relationships, not just your romantic relationships. It's beautiful.
My apology to one of my guests tonight. His name is not Louis, it's Luis.
Well, if I tell you a quick little story about that, when I was growing up and I was a kid, and I first started going to school, kindergarten, first grade, and the teacher would say Luis, all the little kids would tease me, go, "Oh, Luis, it sounds like a girl's name," right? And so when I was little, I was like, no, it's Louis, with some bass in my voice. And now that I'm older and I'm much more secure with myself, it's either Luis or Louis. I don't really, take offense to it, but it's funny that you point that out.
It's a compliment. It's definitely a validation because now you're coming into your divine feminine.
Yeah, that's very true.
I actually love it. Love it.
Yeah, Janie's gonna be happy to hear that because she tells me all the time, you need to tap into more of your feminine side.
You go, girl. We're at the bottom of the hour. Would you give your contact information out to our listening audience here at Center of Light Radio?
Yes. They can go to www.thelovecoaches.com. We've got all kinds of great blogs. We've got videos. As a matter of fact, if they go to our website, they can get the Rad Love Deeds. The Rad Love Deeds are what we use. They're part of our S.A.F.E program. They're what we use to help keep that friendship and the passion going. And RAD stands for respect. So it's appreciation and desire. So if you make your partner feel respected, appreciated, and desired on a pretty consistent basis, it's going to make it much easier for you to maintain the trust that you're wanting to have and the respect, which ultimately leads to the intimacy that everybody's seeking. Guys want to have this great hot sex with their partner, and women want to have this intimate, romantic, like have a man feel like they're just going to ravage them, and they want all that stuff, but they're not doing all the other stuff that's important, which is the communicating and making each other feel good and appreciated. And so on the Rad Love Deeds, it'll actually break down the things that Luis and I do on a regular basis to make sure that we keep making each other feel rad. So, and they can also email us if they go on there. There's a contact page there. They can email us at info@thelovecoaches.com if they have any questions.
Listening to you two, you both are so on fire. literally, and listening to you dialogue here, your conversations with me, as one chimes in and chimes out, the other, the way you guys dovetail and work together is truly magical. I mean, as Luis finishes something, Janie is right there. There's no pause. The synchronization between you two is truly amazing. And this has to be obviously a manifestation or validation of how your relation, the symbioticness in your own relationship.
Yes, for sure. And like I said, I want to go back because this was a process that Janie and I definitely had to learn with each other. Janie, I give her full credit for me being involved in this business because originally I started off just coaching men because I wanted to help men really understand women. And she was the one that really inspired me and was really encouraging me the whole time. Like, you're real passionate about this. You love learning about men and women and how they interact. And all our friends always come to you asking for advice. So she was definitely the energy behind this business and really actually infused me with confidence to be able to do it, to be honest. Cause I was like, I don't even know like where to begin with all this. And she was like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And and
so, like I said, I'm one of those people that I'll just like jump. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll get caught at some point. Like, I'm just not worried about all the little details. I'm like the broad stroke and he's the detail guy.
Right. And so, and then the other part about our personalities is, although you probably can't tell because I try to be very open when I do these kind of things, I'm actually more of an introvert. I prefer to just be in a quiet space reading a book. I'm not very talkative. And Janie is definitely, she's the one that does the marketing. She's out there, she's the one that reached out to you. She has that great personality that there's no way I would be successful without that. So, but it has been some work for both of us to really find our voices in this and really learn to, like we were saying, listen to each other, allow each other to speak. So it definitely has been something that her and I have worked on. But I just want to give her credit because I would not be here without her for sure.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to hear because I'm a words of affirmation, love language kind of girl. And that doesn't always come real easy to Luis, but he's definitely been working on it. So I want to thank him for that and give him a pat on the back.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always tell women. Hey, when a guy does something that you like, or does something, or it doesn't even matter what it is, just give him so much kudos for it because I promise it'll get stored somewhere in that brain of his and he'll eventually start to do it on his own, more regularly. But yeah, it's been hard, Keith. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's been pulling teeth sometimes with this guy. Like, he could be pretty stubborn. And, we talk a lot about masculine and feminine energy and people forget, like, hello, you got two brains in there, a right and a left side. And one is your female brain. The right is the female brain and the left is the more of the male. It's the logical, the emotional, all that stuff. And when you learn how to use both of them to your benefit and know when to go into one and the other, especially in relationships, oh my God, like you'll just go into like outer space realms when it comes to feeling love and having that peace that you're really searching for all the time with people. You know what I mean? So there were times where when we're working in work mode, I go into my masculine brain and I'm like, I guess you could say giving orders. That's how he felt what I was doing. You know what I mean? And so
and me being a masculine guy, I'm like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do. When he used to work by himself and we would do videos, and this is before I like was in on it. I was like producing these videos and I'm giving him all these like tips and this, and his face, you could just see it. He's pissed. He was just so pissed. And then I roll and I'm like, we can't use this. Look at your face.
So yeah, it's definitely been a work in progress for sure.
Listening to you guys, your swooning, your ooiness, your goo-goo godness. When you out in public, you just must make people sick. They must want to hurl.
Well, you know what? We're not one of those annoying couples. Like, we're not one of those annoying couples, though, that's like all over each other, all the time. Like, even though we are very hands-on here at the house and we go out in public, we try to keep it respectful.
I will say this, that the nice part is, we do see clients in our home, and it's really great because it can definitely, as you can definitely feel the energy of a place when you walk in. And it's really great when they walk in and they say, it just feels really good in here. And I think that definitely has to do with how Janie and I carry ourselves, how we show love for each other. and really try to maintain a, harmony between the both of us.
Yeah, we extend compassion to all people. So that's another huge benefit to having a male and a female there to help you, especially when it comes to couples, because we hear it time and time again. The type of traditional, conventional therapy that they go to, it's usually just one person, a man or a woman, and there are all these sort of guidelines and standards that they have to meet, and they can't really get too personal about their own life. And I think, and that's okay. That actually works for a lot of people. But men, a lot of times, feel like their voice isn't heard, and that they usually side on the side of the female or whatever. And time and time again, people say the same thing. It's like, gosh, I just feel really comfortable opening up to you, and I don't feel like you're judging me. And so that is a huge compliment to us, because that's our goal, is to make people feel safe when they're here with us so that they can open up. And the beautiful thing is we actually get to the root of problems a lot more quickly in a shorter period of time because of that. I mean, we're here and this is a business, but we're ultimately in it because we want to help people and because we want to help change the world and bring more balance into relationships and families and everything.
Yeah, I will say this really quick. When we have clients come over, there's two things we always start with. And it's first, we always tell them we're grateful for them being here, because we know it's difficult, because unless they know us, they're really coming to two strangers to open up about some really deep issues that are going on in their lives. So we're always very grateful. And then we always start off by saying there's never any judgment or criticism. There's only observation and reflection. We're not going to sit here and tell you you're doing anything wrong. We're just going to see what's going on. So I think that makes the environment really comfortable for a lot of people.
888-919-2355, 888-919-2355. My guests today are the love coaches, Janie and Luis. We still have about 15 minutes. Gosh, I can just come up with questions for days. What about in a relationship? When a person voices their ideas, this is what I'm asking as my partner, and it's being said over and over, or maybe not over and over, not running into the ground, but periodically, giving that person the time to step up and somehow comply, be a part of, consider what you are bringing to the table, because it may take, some processing. They go through it at a week or days or a couple of weeks. And then you find yourself in a position to where, obviously, one, taking responsibility. Maybe I wasn't clear. And so you use new words with a different posture. Come to find out over a period of months, that your message is not only not coming across, it's truly being slighted. It's not being heard. To me, this no longer becomes a part of a reflection of yourself. Someone is not, the other person would not be cooperating. So, but the aspect of the part of you that is a reflection of you, that you are choosing to stay around when you're not getting a reciprocal. I'm very much aware that relationship is not always about reciprocal, but reciprocal is integral to the relationship. Otherwise, it's unbalanced and it will topple over. So what does a person do when they're not being heard?
This is when I feel like they need to get an outside source, whether it's Luis and I or somebody else that it can communicate their desires, their needs, their wants, whatever message they're trying to get through to this person that's not getting through to them. Once they hit a wall, they need some type of help. That's really the only way. And if the person doesn't want to get help, and they could say it like this, you don't just go be like, listen, man, you got a problem. I keep trying to tell you something and it clearly isn't getting through and this just isn't working. Well, that's coming from a place of defensiveness, right? But if you go into the conversation saying this, and this is only if it's true, Keith, right? Like, listen, I really care about you deeply and I really care about this relationship. But there's this one thing that I feel like I'm not getting through to you, and it's putting a wedge into my heart, into my stomach, into my throat. I don't feel, I'm losing my connection to you because of this resentment that I'm starting to build. And I don't want to say what it is. I don't know what it is, but I know that I cannot communicate it effectively. I think maybe I'm not doing something right. But if we're going to move forward in this relationship, my one request would be that you at least be open to maybe having somebody else hear this out.
Question from the chat room, IBBRI. I don't know how she pronounces her login name. The question is, I guess it's a she, if I'm correct. The question she wants to pose to you is, do you serve the LGBT community as well?
Oh, yes. And that's a great question, because that is an area that Janie and I actually do want to probably get a little more into, especially now that people are being more open, now that gay marriage is legal here in the United States. And so, yes, because interestingly enough, even though you might be same sex, the dynamics tend to be the same. One tends to be a little more masculine, one tends to be a little more feminine. And so when it comes to those essences, what we apply to a regular couple is going to be the same in a same-sex couple. So yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's all the matter when it comes to matters of the heart, and how our minds work. And again, I know I briefly mentioned the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is basically been recording every breath of your life since you've been here on Earth. And so every experience and whether it's traumatic, good, all of these experiences that you have helped develop your personality. And so that's why I try to tell people right now is the time for us to look in the mirror and really look at the parts of ourselves that aren't shining. So it's like the darker side. We need to shine a light on it so that we can bring it into the light. And we don't need to shame and blame. We just need to heal and understand. And when you can help two people understand their personalities and why they're doing some of the things that they're doing, then that's when people start to empathize with one another when they fall down, Yeah,
and although we teach couples lots of different things, and we have a couple different programs, Janie and I have this foundation of honesty, understanding, and communication. And so it doesn't matter whether you're a same-sex couple or a hetero couple. Everybody wants to be honest, be able to be honest, be understood, and hopefully then communicate that properly. So every relationship needs that.
And, going back to, I believe it's the LGBT, if I'm saying it, I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. There's a lot of people that are going through different transitions in their life. And for some of them, it is the transgender community. And so even though ultimately we're here to help people, in relationships and love, we're also life coaches. And so we want to help you feel safe in whatever realm that may be as you go through these changes and deal with these things with your family and things like that.
We are coming to the climax of the show. And so I'm going to ask a climax question.
Yay, we love that.
How do we spice up a relationship? Not only a relationship that is doing well, but one that is on the rocks. How do we light that fire to spice it up, to create the hope, and seeing clearly the future of this relationship, as you would say, thrive?
Okay. That's great. And maybe Janie and I'm sure going to go back and forth on this one. So I'll speak to the men and, maybe a little bit to the women, and Janie will do the same. So for the men, this is so important for men to understand. And going back to the whole safe thing, the number one desire for women is to feel safe. So first of all, intimacy for the woman starts outside of the bedroom. And I can't stress that enough for men. You have to, make her feel safe outside of the bedroom. You have to show her that you desire her, that you love her, you respect her, you care about her. When you can show her all that outside of the bedroom, it's going to allow her to feel safe inside of the bedroom. And then that'll allow her to be open to you, to trust you, to do things that you are going to want her to do. So for men, I'm going to say it one more time. Intimacy starts outside of the bedroom with a woman.
And for women, what's going to help you a lot if you're wanting to, like you said, reignite that spark is catch how often you complain. Whether
I'm laughing not because I took the man's side and pointed finger at women. It just hit me in such a gaggle.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Janie. But there was a recent survey that I had read, and it said the number one complaint from men is women complaining.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I know my stuff, but just kidding. Yeah. So basically, women, you want a man to find you attractive. And we think that it's just about the physical appearance, but there's so much more that attracts a man to us. And so what I like to remind them of is what are the things that diminish our attractiveness? And so complaining about anything. Now you can say it one time, but don't go on and on. If you want to go on and on, call one of your girlfriends because guys just aren't having it. But specifically complaining about what they do wrong. Try to flip that on its back and start focusing on what they're doing right. And that's going to help you a lot too. And then also,
excuse me, I just heard something funny in that flip on the back. That was just.
And the other thing for women is, it is so important for us to really connect with our sensuality and our sexuality and all of the greatness that you have and that you carry, because it really does. How you feel about yourself. If you want your man to think that you are just like the bomb diggity, that you're so sexy and you're so funny and you're so chill, you really have to work on those things. You know what I mean? Like for yourself, you have to feel those things for yourself in order for somebody else to feel those things for you. And so I say, own your sexy. If you're having a problem with that, then maybe there's a little work for you to do in that arena. Make sure that you pump your man up. Oh my God, that sounds bad.
It's just getting worse and worse.
I know.
Yeah, all these Freudian slips are. But I like what you said, Janie.
Awesome.
I think that was really awesome what you said, which was honor your sexy. Mm-hmm. I think that is just brilliant, along with all the other slips.
And I will say this for the guys too. Obviously I said about the intimacy being outside the bedroom, but also the same survey that I had read, it was basically a survey for men and women. And it said the one thing that women desire from their men is more passion. So for the men, find that inner lover in you. We all have it. Find that inner lover in you. And so that when you do make love to your wife, she feels that love, that passion from you, your masculine essence that she desires so much from you. You really need to find that within you. And if you don't, learn things. Like Janie and I, what really helped our sex life is I started reading a book on Tantra. And, when most people think of Tantra or tantric sex, they think of, all these rituals or maybe like Kumasatra, all these crazy positions. And it's not really about that. It's realizing that sex is a sacred space for you and your partner.
It's a doorway. It's a doorway.
I call it a gateway to God. Like,
it really is.
It really is.
Yes. And realizing that also sex is basically an energy exchange that's going on between the both of you. It's, sending that masculine energy to the feminine reciprocating by sending you her feminine energy. So it's really finding these things that are going to work for you because, one thing I tell men is, we don't really, there's no classes in high school that teaches you to be a great lover. And so you really have to check your ego.
Oh, yes, there is. It's called your circle of friends. No,
right.
Guys, we're coming to the top of the hour. What a fantastic show. The fire that you guys exude is just amazing. And I absolutely agree. Not only did we come from the divine via sex, it's also our way back, the amalgamation, the coming together of these two aspects of the divine, the masculine and feminine, into wholeness. So we go back, it's one avenue at least, back to the same place we came in through the outdoor.
One of the things that I always say, and I call it sexy sacred sex. That's like what Luis and I have. and sex really is intended for healing, for connecting, and for pleasure. And a lot of women carry a lot of guilt around feeling pleasure, interestingly enough. And so that's like that's a whole, we can have a whole nother show just on all of that stuff. But it really is a time for you guys to connect. emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And when you learn how to do that together, you do have incredible, intimate, passionate, sacred, cosmic sex.
I would like to do, I'm going to take you up on your offer. Absolutely. I would like to do a show on that in the future about all the gunk, all the garbage, all the guilt, all the useless stuff that we have taken upon ourselves, be it parents, authority, society, media, church, religion, whatever the situation be. I would like to go inside and start pulling out some weeds. I think that's a beautiful idea, and I would like to take you up on that, Janie.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And before we end the show, I just want to go through the steps really quick. So it's
Sure.
Seek the truth. This is about delving deeper into knowing yourself, right? Accept accountability and responsibility. Acknowledge and examine your personal habits and what are you doing to create the disharmony in a relationship. The next step is free your mind. This is about reviewing your personal limiting beliefs and the ideas around love, commitment, and the opposite sex, and uncovering past pain, which could possibly be impacting the present. And then once you finally get through all that, now you're in a place of E, which is express and expand your heart. Now you feel safe to communicate your wants, needs, and concerns honestly and effectively. And so now you guys are talking. Now you're really thriving in your relationship. You don't want to just survive your relationship. You want to thrive in it. You want to be happy. You want to like the person. And so if you guys can get through this, this is going to help you guys have that peace and that love and the passion that you're looking for.
Janie and Luis, love coaches, the lovecoaches.com. Is that correct?
thelovecoaches.com. Yep, the Love Coaches. And don't forget to go get your free Rad Love Deeds.
Thank you both for being on the Center of Light Radio. What an exuberating, fun-filled, powerful show. And my absolute pleasure to meet you both and experience you both and to remember what it's like as we get closer to our essence, the joy, the playfulness that you have between you. What an amazing dynamic. Thank you both.
Thank you so
Thank you for having us, Keith. We had a great time, and we keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is awesome and spreading the message, and we're super proud to be part of your tribe.
Yeah, very proud. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you both for your acknowledgement. Be well. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
What a great, fun-filled show. Next week on Center of Light Radio, my guest is going to be Hillary Ramos. She was here a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and she jetted off across the pond to France, I believe. And she went and visited some holy sites, some Catholic sites, doing some work around the incarnation of Yeshua, Jesus, and Mother Mary and Magdalene, and all that really cool stuff. So I invited her back, and she will be here next week to tell us about her experience. Also, oh my God, I can't say it still. 2 weeks from now, Swamiji Viswayogi, God Realized Man, is going to be on the Center of Light Radio. I can't even find the words right now. I'm just completely blissful and elated. So I'm just going to bathe in that for a bit. Center of Light Radio, every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Make sure you go to KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com. Check out the free audio meditation, Anchoring Heaven on Earth audio meditation. Remember, when you lay down at night or during the day, when you have nothing to do, might as well be doing something. Breathe consciously in and out. Breathe from the space of appreciation. Breathe from the space of wanting something grand and expanding in your life. And you will discover that what lies just behind that breath is the real you, the you that you really are. Always remember to spread the light and ease into bliss. Good evening.